of polarity and how understanding the law of polarity can help you to make decisions that are multidimensional. And what sparked this live for me was something that just happened to me. I was not planning to go live, but something quite dramatic just happened to me right now while I was out on a walk. And I was quite shaken up by that experience. But this experience came into the law of polarity and I was upset. I had a little cry. And then I realised that I needed to come live and talk about the law of polarity. And actually through that experience, like each time I'm shown something, like I go through something, it's time to come back and share that wisdom. And I was like, actually, I need to turn this pain into purpose and talk about this because this has changed my whole entire life and this has changed the life of my clients. So what happened is I was crossing a road. It was just like a close that led into a car park. So it wasn't a super busy road, but it was off sort of a road that goes into a town. There was a road going off into a little car park. There was a little close, and then opposite that was another road that came and joined that main road. So it was like a crossroads, and I was walking past like the quiet part of the crossroad. And what happened is that as I stepped out in the road to walk across that quiet part of the crossroads, there was a car coming down the part of the crossroads opposite me, and the car came down at the same time I was crossing. The car pulled out. So I don't know in terms of the highway code, and let me know, like, if you're watching this, let me know, like, was I in the right, was I in the wrong, was the car in the right or the wrong, was it just that both of us kind of ended up in the same place at the same time? So as I crossed over this road, the car pulled out at the same time, so we went like this, and instead of the guy seeing me and braking, I looked. In a split second, I looked, and this was happening as I was walking. He was pulling out, and in a split second, I looked up, I looked straight at him, and he floored it at me. He drove his car directly at me to try and run me over, or to try and scare me. I don't know what his intentions were. Like, I've seen, especially men, like, this guy's just joining. This literally just happened to me. I just had someone drive their car at me deliberately, directly, to try and run me over. And this is about the law of polarity, right? So I walked out as he drove towards me. At the same time, I looked up. He even looked me in the eye, and he drove his car directly at me. He accelerated when he saw me in the middle of the road. And I was like, what? I was in shock. And thankfully my flight mode kicked in, and I ran and I got out of his way. And then I stopped on the edge of the road, and I was shaking and I was crying. And then I sort of had this moment where sort of like flight kicked in and I got out of the road, then fight kicked in, and I kind of went, what are you doing? You ran me over. Like, tried to run me over. And then this lovely, lovely, lovely young guy came up to me, could see I was distressed, didn't quite see what happened, and said, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I was like, I'm just in shock. I'm just in shock. If I was driving and someone stepped out in the road and someone stepped out in front of me, my default reaction would be to brake and not hit them. But this guy's default reaction was to accelerate towards me, to either deliberately run me over or to scare me. I don't know. I really don't know. But I literally walked out as he was coming across. So it wasn't that he was coming out before me and I could have stopped and seen him. I was already in the road when he pulled out. And he might have thought the same. He might have thought he was already in the road as I was in the road, right? But who in their right mind thinks, oh, there's a pedestrian, I'm going to accelerate at them and try and run them over or scare them? Like, who does that? Let me know in comments, guys. Like, who does that kind of thing these days? Well, I say these days, maybe. Anyway, so this lovely, lovely young guy with such a pure soul stopped me, put his hand on me, asked me if I was okay, asked me, bless him, asked me if I could take him and show him the car. He said, can you identify the car? Let's go find it together. And I was like, no, it's okay. I'm just going to go for a walk. Don't worry about it. But I appreciate you so much for stopping to ask if I'm okay. So in the moment of the number of seconds that was happening to me, I had somebody kind of target me or try and scare me. I don't even know what I would call it. Like somebody, like there's a pedestrian, I'm going to accelerate my car towards them. Like what would you call that? Give me some words in comments. Like what would you call that? Like targeting, aggression, I don't know. So in this moment, I had this guy trying to run me over, trying to like run me down in the middle of the road. And then like 5 seconds later, there was this incredibly light, pure soul. This guy had like an angelic frequency. It's the only way I can describe it. He had an angelic frequency. So thank you. If you ever come to watch this and you know the impact that you've had on me today, thank you. I don't know what your name is, but you almost had like an angelic frequency. This guy had bright blonde hair and the most piercing blue eyes. He was almost angelic. So in this moment, in this split second, as I had somebody quite clearly quite dark trying to run me down, like here's a pedestrian, let's accelerate towards her, this guy with this beautiful angelic frequency was immediately there for me. This young guy checking, was I okay? Did I need anything? And I don't know what he was planning to do. And he was like, point him out to me. Like, was he going to go and beat him up? Like, I didn't want to get this guy in any trouble either. So this is the law of polarity. So literally, and this is why I had to go live and come and talk about this straight away. This was literally in those split seconds of that happening, I had this incredibly dark thing happening, this guy trying to run me over. And then like 2 seconds later, this beautiful angelic frequency guy immediately came in to check I was okay, to comfort me, to soothe me, and to be there for me in that moment. So in that moment of darkness where somebody was trying to run me down, there is immediately like this earth angel that appeared to comfort me, to protect me, to have my back and be willing to like come with me to resolve this situation. So I actually just walked away from it. I went for a walk and I... Badger, you're hilarious. Yeah, so it could have been that situation, right, Badger? That could have been like or do you mean the guy who was helping me? So it could have been, you know, could have been that, but it wasn't. So the guy who tried to run me down, like, I don't know what he was going through. Like, it's usually not, I was going to say it's usually not about you, but sometimes it is about you. Like, your light shines bright and people hate it. They hate you. Oh my God, they hate you and they don't know why. So that very well could have been happening, that he felt my frequency and he thought, I hate her, I'm going to target her. Or it could just be he had something going on for him and some kind of trauma. So in that moment where this guy was clearly going through something or clearly triggered by me, and he was like, I'm just gonna like either run her over or pretend I'm going to run her over to like scare her in this moment, because we were both ended up in the road at the same time. In that moment of split-second moment, there was that darkness, real darkness in that. I can actually like feel that as I say that frequency. And then there was this incredible light. And even he was physically light. He had blonde hair, he had blue eyes. He was like an angelic frequency. And he was there immediately to have my back, to protect me, to ask if I was okay. And I got into flight mode to get myself out of the road and into safety, which is like the most important thing, right? It's the same as if I'm in a car. If I'm in a car and someone pulls out, I will immediately brake. Or if they're like coming this way and I'm here, then I will accelerate to get out of the way, okay? So instant like flight mode, get yourself to a space of safety. And then, because obviously the dorsal vagal ladder, the nervous system, then goes into fight, which is the next stage, then I felt my fight come in and I kind of went, what are you doing? And then obviously the guy came in, this like angelic frequency guy came in that moment and wanted to fight for me as well, which was just incredible. But what I did is, instead of fighting, instead of going after the car, which I have sometimes, very, very rarely, I have gone into a conflict to try and like understand what's going on. Like, and it might be that the guy might say, I'm really sorry, like my wife has just left me and I just completely didn't know what I was doing and I just drove at you and I wasn't thinking. Then, you know, I might be a little more compassionate, maybe. So sometimes, like in the past, I've got in these moments of conflict to like try and understand the situation. But this time I was like, this is just not worth my energy. This beautiful angelic frequency has come in, this beautiful guy, this beautiful light has come in this moment to protect me and to care for me. And I thanked him, I let him go on his way, and then I went for a walk. I walked it off, I got to the river. I used the energy of the river to clear my energy. If it wasn't so cold, I probably would have got in the river, or at least put my feet in the river. And then I continued walking, and then it came to me. It came to me, the spark. I was like, oh my goodness. In that moment, in those few seconds where all of that happened, this was the law of polarity. And this is an incredible metaphor for how we can work with that law of polarity. So that aggressive driver that was driving at me today, that was trying to run me over, like there are dark energies in this world. There is darkness in this world. There is trauma. There is suffering. There is like, we cannot deny that. And that darkness gets expressed in unhealthy ways, usually through trauma. So we have these like metaphorical aggressive drivers, and we also have that capacity within us for that expression of darkness as well. So when we see these things and when these things happen, it's about like that acceptance of the law of polarity, and to know that there is light, there is dark, there is that side of it. It's also to see that we have those expressions of ourself within us at any given moment. We are whole, we are dark, we are light. So the guy who tried to run me down today, that aggression, that I'm triggered by her and I don't know why, so I'm just going to drive at her, like, I was wearing purple as well. It's not like I was blending in with the environment. I was wearing bright purple, right? And he looked at me. He looked me in the eye and then drove his car at me. Okay? So that is like, and then we've got this beautiful light side as well. So the guy who turned up with the angelic frequency after someone had attempted to run me over, he had this beautiful light energy. He had compassion, he had kindness, he had care, he had protection. And both of these men in this scenario are representative of the law of polarity. So in that split second moment, in those 5 seconds where someone tried to run me down and then someone came to help, that is the quantum field. That is the multidimensionality of this universe. There is light and there is dark, and that light and dark can express in a healthy way, or it can express in an unhealthy way. And when we understand that, it is not one or the other, and we can focus on the light, we can focus on what's good, we can focus on what we're grateful for. And don't get me wrong, today I was so grateful for that guy with that angelic frequency, with those piercing blue eyes that came in to help me. Like, I was focused on the light, and I know had the darkness not happened today, then I wouldn't have seen that light either. That guy wouldn't have come in to help me. It wouldn't have, you know, each time these things happen, it restores my faith in humanity. It restores my faith in humanity. When you see this, when you see these strangers come in and help, like, if the darkness didn't happen, you wouldn't always see the light. So they need to exist together. That is the world that we live in. And at the same time, we can choose to focus on the light. We can choose to ask for more of it. We can choose to train our awareness towards the light. So the thing that I will take away from today will not be the car that's accelerating towards me while I'm in the road. It will be on this guy with these piercing blue eyes, who was like on this angelic frequency that stepped in and helped me today. So we can hold both. We can know that there is dark and there is light, and sometimes without light there isn't dark, and without dark there isn't light. And at the same time, we can choose to focus on the light. And it's not just light and dark, right? The law of polarity exists for everything. So with everything, there is a spectrum, a scale, right? And where I see most people trip up on this ascension journey, on this alignment journey, is they end up in either or states. They end up in either one or another. So a big polarity for me that I used to be very heavily in was my sensitivity. And for many years, my sensitivity, my empathy, my autism, my psychic gifts, however you want to describe that, there are multi-dimensionalities of that. There is the human level neurodiversity, autism, sensitivity, HSP, the 5D and above, multidimensional, psychic, seer, intuitive. Like, there are many words to describe what that is. But for a lot of my life, I was in this side of that polarity with that, where I felt like my sensitivities were a burden. I was like, why am I feeling it all? Why can't I go out in public without feeling anxiety? Like, what is wrong with me? For most of my 20s, I spent thousands of pounds on therapy trying to fix it, because I'd started to learn about trauma. And I thought, maybe if I do enough work on myself, maybe if I do enough healing, I will eventually be able to do all these things that all these other people can just seem to do so easily. When I was working in corporate, and I worked in London for a lot of that time, I used to get a train to London a couple of days a week, and I'd be in the office in London for a couple of hours. And let me know in comments, do you ever have that eyeball drain thing? Like, if I say your eyeball drained, do you know what I mean? Like, your eyeballs drained. Do you experience that? So after about 2 hours in that office in London, I would start to feel like my eyeballs were drained. And I'd be like, oh, I just can't sit here under these fluorescent lights anymore on the 11th floor, like, you know, in this stagnant air, in this air conditioning office with all these people around me, and the phone's ringing and the lights are bright and the coffee machine and the after about 2 hours, I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I looked around me and there was all these people in my team at work and they could cope. They could sit there 7-8 hours a day and they were just drinking coffee, just getting through it. Sometimes they didn't even have lunch. Like, how could you not have lunch? I'd be like a starving, hungry mess if I didn't have lunch, right? And I was looking around me, and this is just one example of this, of where I was in this polarity. I was so heavily in this polarity of sensitivity. And I was looking around me, and I spent most of my 20s like, how do I fix this? How can I fix this so I can be like these other people that spend 7 to 8 hours a day in the office, then go to the pub after work, sometimes don't even have dinner? Like, what is wrong with you? Right? And I spent most of my 20s like, why can't I be like that? Why can't I be resilient like that? Why do I have to keep suffering? Why do I have to keep struggling with this? And it's because I was so far in that polarity of my sensitivities are a burden. I feel it all. I'm obviously broken. I must need fixing. I must have something wrong with me. I must need more therapy and more therapy. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I be like everyone else? So I was so far in that sensitivity part of that polarity. Sensitivity, empathy. And what I needed was to move towards the other side of that polarity, which was my boundaries, my fire, my discernment, my healthy ego. My ego was so suppressed it had like gone out the back door and run down the road years ago. And when most of us are in this state of, why can't I function in society? Why can't I be like everyone else? Why am I feeling it all? Why am I so overwhelmed? I used to get on the train home from London and cry the entire 2 hours home. And like, then if it was, say I worked in London on a Friday, I would have to cancel my entire weekend. If I had any social plans, anything, other than walking in nature or just being on my sofa, I would have to cancel my entire weekend if I'd worked in London. And what was happening is I was not seeing the healthy darkness in myself, the healthy boundaries, the healthy fire, and the healthy ego. So you can see that the boundaries, the fire, the fierceness, the ego in that opposite side of that polarity, right? And more narcissistic traits are here already. So more narcissistic traits, and this is why empaths and narcissists attract each other, because it's a polarity. Because it's a polarity. So the more the empath is empathing and the more the narcissist is narcissisting, the more they attract each other. It is like a moth to a flame. This is why, because it's a polarity, north and south, like a magnet. So the more the empath empaths, the more the narcissist narcissists, right? So we always need to look at the other side of that polarity. And this is where we will see this. Because of this polarity, we will see this in our environment, in our reality. So what happens, and this could be anything for you, so let me know in comments, like, what is your own version of this? So where I tend to see people get out of alignment, people get burnt out, like this is what sometimes has put me into like autistic burnout and things like that. Like this is a multidimensional take on that neurodiversity. Like what gets people out of alignment, what gets people into burnout is they are too far in one polarity. And when you are too far in one polarity, so like the most common one I see is like sensitivity, empathy. When you are too far in that polarity, what has happened is usually, so what has caused this? So if I tell you what's caused it, then we can see like how to undo it. What has caused this is that in childhood, usually between the ages of 0 and 7, this happens. We develop the belief that part of us is not worthy, is not valid, is not okay. So the most common thing, and this is where women, this is where I see women lose touch with their healthy ego, because they are told that they shouldn't be selfish, they shouldn't be angry, they shouldn't be demanding. How often did you hear, good girls don't do that? Good girls don't have tantrums. Good girls don't get angry. Good girls are seen and not heard. And all of those things, right? So we get told all of these things in childhood. And that forms a belief that a part of us is not worthy. The part of us that knew full well at 3 years old how to express our emotions. We knew full well to release somatically when we were 3 years old. We had a tantrum. When we felt dysregulated, we had a tantrum. And that was our body doing a healthy fight or flight mode. We just needed to learn where to direct that energy. That was all. We just needed to learn how to work with that energy. This is what children need. They just need to learn. Children just need to learn how to direct that in a healthy way, not make it wrong. And I've seen this I've seen this out in public. I have seen parents saying to children, good girls, good boys don't do that. We're in a restaurant. If you want to have dessert, you better stop that tantrum right now because that tantrum is wrong, right? So what happens is, anywhere where we have healthy fire, boundaries, standing up for ourselves, expressing our emotions, because between the ages of 0 and 7, we are so dependent psychologically, subconsciously, we are so dependent on our parents for survival that what we do is we take on the belief that if we are these things, so I'm a good girl and I can't be angry and I can't express my emotions and I can't have a tantrum, so we push these parts of ourselves down and we choose the love of the parent. Because between the ages of 0 and 7, we are dependent, well, for many years, obviously, we are dependent on the caregiver, on the parent for survival. So the brain makes a subconscious choice to say, I'm going to choose the love of the caregiver over being able to express my emotions. I'm going to push that part down, deeply lock that within my subconscious mind, make that wrong. And any sense of ego, especially with women, I see this, any sense of ego and worth and protecting themselves and standing up for themselves and fire and boundaries and all of those things has been pushed down years and years and years ago. And what will happen is, and this is what the 1% don't do, right? So what will happen is, in that law of polarity, you will start to awaken, you will go through something, you will start to realise just how sensitive you are. So for me, the start of that journey was training to be a mindfulness teacher, because I had to dive deep into the deep end of mindfulness to learn it, to embody it, to teach it. And getting that close to my awareness of body and breath, I had this moment of oh shit. Am I allowed to say that on here? Or will it kick me off? Don't kick me off. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. I'm actually really sensitive and I'm feeling all the things. That was what my mindfulness training did. It was oh. Okay, so we go through this awakening and we almost make that commitment to get to know ourselves. And then we start to see in our reality those parts of you that you have pushed down a long time ago, good girls don't get angry, good girls don't have tantrums and all the things, whatever, good girls, good boys don't do this. All of those things will rise up to the surface. If you are here for big things and you are here to learn your soul lessons and to embody your soul lessons on this journey, and you are here to lead the way for others, and you are here to be a leader in whatever capacity that is for you, a coach, a healer, a mentor, you are here to help others, you will go through this, and you will go through this in quite extreme ways sometimes, so that you feel it and you learn from it, and then you can help others. So what will happen as you're going through this process of awakening is you will start to see people in your reality that match those things that you have pushed down. So the most common thing that I see is anger. There's all these angry people coming out of the woodwork. Angry people, like the guy that tried to run me over today, right? Aggression, anger. He was clearly triggered by me. I don't even know what I'd done. But that is something that I will look at and I'll be like, okay, where is there anger in me that needs to be expressed, that is like a match for that? So you will start to see people in your environment that start to mirror to you those traits that you pushed down a long time ago. So you will start to see angry people, and you will probably be triggered by that. And you will probably make that wrong as well. You will probably be like, people should not behave like that. That is not acceptable behaviour. That is against my values. That's not the way to behave. You will probably reject those behaviours. It will probably make you not like people that are angry. You'll probably be like, I do not want to be around these angry people. Yeah, I don't want nothing to do with that. And then the next angry person will come along. And you'll be in your car, and then there'll be someone with road rage. There'll be someone doing, like, I won't do it on here, like the signs that they do. And you'll be like, why is there another angry person? And then your child will have this absolute rage fit at you for no reason. And you're like, why am I suddenly being surrounded? So when you then start to see this pattern and you say, okay, all of these things that have triggered me, all of these things that are giving me an emotional reaction, all of these things where I've made them wrong, what are they? Like, what is the one feature that all of those have in common? And this is the 1%. This is what the 1% will do. The 1% of people will say, what are the themes? What are the people? What are those triggering situations that I had? Instead of just saying, that's wrong, they're wrong, that's not good behaviour, that's not okay, carrying on with your life, telling people they're not okay, or they're against your values, or they're wrong. That's where most people get to and stop. Most people will just go, yeah, oh, I had this horrible experience happen to me. I had this guy and he said this and then that happened. And then, you know, they're talking to their friend on the phone like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess what? I've just had this other drama. Oh my gosh, I've had this other drama. And this other man was angry at me. And, oh, his behaviour was so wrong. And then they'll just keep getting on with their lives and never looking at it. But the 1%, which is you, the 1% will say, hang on a moment, what are these repeating patterns? What are these traits of these people that trigger me? What are the types of behaviours that I see in my reality? And for many of us as empaths and those that have been very much in that empathic side of the spectrum, this is where we start attracting narcissists into our lives. And this is to majorly show us where we need to embody some of those traits. So, you know, we get the white feathers. If we don't listen to the nudges, you know, we see the angry person in the shop, right? That might be a white feather. We then end up in this like road rage incident, right? That's then the brick. That's the universe saying, you need to really pay attention to your, like, these shadows that you've pushed down a long time ago. And you're like, no, it's fine. No, that person's just wrong. That's just against my values. Oh, can you believe it? Oh, can you believe it again? I've had this other angry person come into my reality. And then you get the dump truck. Then you end up in a relationship with a narcissist. Maybe even marry a narcissist. And then you're like, shit, didn't listen to the feathers. Didn't listen to the brick. And now the dump truck has well and truly come, and I need to like get myself out of this situation. So the universe will always show you in your reality, because this is how quantum physics works. In quantum physics, atoms bond to similar atoms that are a frequency match. And it doesn't matter, the quantum field does not judge it does not judge between that thing being conscious or unconscious. So if you think about it, if you're operating more on that empathy side of that polarity, but subconsciously you've got this ego that's been pushed down a long time ago, the selfish, like good selfish, self-care, boundaries, the fire, the rage, and all of that has been pushed down so long ago, but you're still operating on this whole polarity because that is the oneness of it all. That is how everything works. There is light, there is dark, there is everything. You are whole and complete. But what has happened is you have pushed some of those energies and traits down so deeply into your subconscious mind. And the quantum field does not judge, does not distinguish between what is a conscious trait for you and you're walking around all in your good girl era pleasing everyone. That does not mean that you're going to attract people that please you. It does not mean you're going to attract positive people into your life, because you're potentially walking around with all these shadows. And these shadows, these traits, exist as energetic wounds in your field. I literally see them in clients. I see them in clients. I can see the wounds. And these wounds are magnets. They are magnets to those situations. And those situations, because it's happening like through us, and it is us, all of these situations are showing you things that are inside of you. And it is because these traits, these wounds, these shadows that we pushed down so long ago are operating as an energetic wound in your field. And this will also pull in energies and entities as well. So I've been doing quantum clearings now for 3 years, and a little bit more before that just in myself. And over that time, I've seen a pattern with people that have pushed down their healthy ego, their boundaries, their fire, their rage, and attracting quite dark energies and entities. And people always like come at me with that, and they're like, I'm a good person and I'm really light, so why would I attract that? And it's like, because it's your subconscious that's attracting that. It's that wound that's attracting it, because you haven't seen, owned, honoured your healthy darkness, your boundaries, your rage, your fire, your discernment. Like, it's because you haven't owned those things. And this is where we start to see, like, really, like, people that are really, really here with loads of light, really old souls. This is where we start to see them have things like psychic attacks, because it is that shadow side of themselves, those beliefs that they made wrong in childhood, that they pushed down, that they're carrying in their field as wounds. And those wounds are then bringing in those energies, bringing in those, like, those cords, those gaping holes to those dark energies. So I'm a good person and I'm light. That's just light washing. That is never going to cut it. And unfortunately and sadly, a lot of these people are in the spiritual community going around vomiting love and light and not realising that they have dark entity attachments, and they're only connected to 4D. They're never going to ascend beyond that until they have this realisation, until they do the inner work, until they look at their shadows, until they look at their traumas. And when you heal trauma, you heal these shadows, and it closes those energetic wounds. It makes you a clearer channel to source. And this is what actually develops you spiritually as well. So the law of polarity, when we can understand the law of polarity, if you're looking to develop your spiritual gifts, to run a spiritual business, to do healings for people, to channel for people, to do readings for people, whatever that thing is for you, the most powerful and prominent way you can do that is by understanding this law of polarity. And this runs through all of my courses and programs. Like, everything I teach is about that, and it is in varying levels. And that is because I have seen that this is like the top thing that is going to change your life, that is going to shift your reality, that is going to move you into the life beyond your wildest dreams. And if you're wanting to deepen your spiritual gifts, this is also going to deepen those spiritual gifts, because as soon as you can lean into and embody these traits back to that polarity spectrum, right? And you come a little bit in, you know, into like a more balanced state where you're balancing some of these traits of like healthy ego with that empathy. You come into that space in the middle. The seesaw is balanced. You vibrate at that level of wholeness. You don't have any wounds in your field, and you become such a clear channel for source. And you move into where you're supposed to be with your gifts. Meet your tribe. Manifest opportunities. When you understand the law of polarity, it enables you to be multi-dimensional. And today was a beautiful and difficult situation for me that enabled me to see that, and to see that wholeness of the quantum field in 5 minutes from the guy. So if you weren't here at the start of the video, I walked out across a junction at the same time someone was coming across the junction today. He clocked me, I looked him in the eye, and he accelerated at me. He looked me in the eye. We both came into the road at the same time. He looked me in the eye and he accelerated towards me. Who does that? And I do get it. Like, I do get it. Someone who is traumatized does that. We don't know what had just happened to him before that. We don't know if I triggered him. We don't know if I was wearing the coat that his ex-wife used to wear. Like, we don't really know. And at the same time, that was incredibly dark. That put me into a panic. I had to run out of the road to save myself. And then this incredible angelic frequency came in. This incredibly light, pure soul came in to help me in that moment and check I was okay and have my back. So in that split second, in those 5 seconds, there was incredible dark and there was incredible light. And this is just the multidimensionality of it. And the way to your gifts, the way for you to get into alignment, the way for you to manifest these opportunities into your life is when you can embody this sense of wholeness, when you're not in the this or this and your pendulum swinging between the two. Another thing that used to come up for me here was, which is kind of on a 3D level, right? This was my ADHD and autism. So if you want to give it a 3D label, it's ADHD and autism. But energetically, multidimensionally, this was so much more than that. And I'm going to call it like a push-pull energy. So I would get to a point of burnout because I would push and push and push. Like, I'm really driven, really motivated. I can have a lot of energy and I will just go firing on all cylinders until I learned my sacred yes and my sacred no. So now I only follow my sacred yes. So I was out walking this morning after that horrible experience of nearly being run over. And I was like, go and do a TikTok live. Sacred yes. So I was like, all right, sacred yes, let's follow that. But I used to just do everything. I used to be like, I'm so driven and motivated and I want to get shit done and I'm going to meet my goals and blah, blah, blah. And I was doing everything, like including the social life that was just completely misaligned. And then what would happen is I would end up in this, so this is push. So I'd push, 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 push. Then I'd end up in a state of burnout. Then I had no choice but to go into pull. And I would pull and I would pendulum swing right back to the other side of that seesaw. And I would go from push to pull energy just like that. And I would pull all of my energy back. I would say no to everything. I would have to cancel everything. I would have to cancel work. I would have to rest and just do nothing. And I couldn't, like, couldn't get off the sofa. Or sometimes I could like walk in nature, but it was like nothing. Like my phone is off, I'm in complete hermit mode. Like, don't get me wrong, I intentionally still do that now. But it was like I'd push, 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 push. I was so far in that push side of the pendulum that I would wham back into that side. Then I would go into rest and recharge and I would get bored. So I would rest and recharge and then I'd be like, oh, I kind of want to see someone and I kind of want to do something. And I would reach that point of like rest and recharge, which is void space, which is fertile ground, which is like I'm never bored. I don't know about you, but I'm never bored. But for me, it's like almost on the verge of boredom. And it's what I call the void space. And that's when the magic happens. That's when you're really, really, really magnetic. So I'd go right into this kind of space, into this void space. And I'd reach that point of like almost being bored and feeling that need for something, that like need to connect, that need to be out in the world. And again, now I follow that sacred yes and no with that. And now I allow myself to sit in that void space. And that void space is always the space that I make money in as well. If I allow myself to sit in the void, if I allow myself to almost verge on board, my energy is incredibly magnetic. And that's always the time that I receive the money, the clients, the opportunities, the spaces, like the space I'm in right now, this beautiful Christmassy space I'm in right now. Like all of those opportunities come in when I'm in that like almost verging on boredom. But what used to happen is I used to feel the discomfort of that pull space, that pull back, that no space. I used to feel the discomfort of that and then just do the next thing. Like rather than doing the aligned thing, the sacred yes thing, like who's got a copy of the sacred yes workbook that you can get through the link in my bio? Hands up, hands up, hands up. Baby, hands up. Hands up if you've got a copy of the Sacred Yes workbook, because this workbook, workshop and activation are completely free and get you towards this space. So what used to happen is like I'd then have that need, that desire, that void space. Then I'd just go and take any action because I'd be like, come on, you need to get shit done. This business won't run itself. Rah, 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 like whatever I told myself, whatever I gaslit myself to get myself out of that space, then I'd go back into just like the messy, misaligned action again. Then I'd end up in a space of burnout. Then I'd pendulum swing back into the pull. So it was like push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. It was like one of those little silver balls. Does anyone remember those? Where like they hit the ball and then the other one like kind of comes out. Like I lived my life in the push, pull constantly and I was flaky as whatever because I'd push, 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 and then I'd have like some kind of plans. I'd push too far, and then I'd be like, uh-oh, I'm in burnout, quick, cancel all the plans. Then I'd have to cancel all the plans and be really flaky and not commit to things because I'd overcommitted. So the thing that has got me out of that push-pull is by understanding that that is the law of polarity. That within us at any given time, there can be many things. There can be many parts of us that want different things. And it is about listening and following what is a sacred yes for all or most of those parts. Like what is actually in alignment for us? What action is actually in alignment for you rather than just action for the sake of action, for the sake of being busy, for the sake of like getting that dopamine hit of getting stuff done. And actually what is in alignment for you? And what unaction, for want of a better word, what rest, receiving, void space, being in nature, being in cozy, quiet, peaceful environments, what non-action is in alignment for you as well? And this is how we understand that law of polarity. It's not one or the other. You are multidimensional. You are beyond those labels. You are multidimensional. Let's leave it there. Have a fabulous rest of your weekend. Thanks everyone for joining me live, and I will see you all soon.